Deliberate Action, a podcast for men who take responsibility seriously, men who protect, provide, and lead their families and communities. We have honest conversations about masculinity, leadership, discipline, and culture because talk without action changes nothing. We're your host, Dan Major.
Chris McCauley.
All right, Chris, let's go straight into the why. Why this podcast and why now? What made this conversation move from private discussions with friends into the public forum?
Well, as you said, I did have a lot of these private conversations with people. I started out thinking that I was the only person in the room with these values and beliefs. And just getting straight into why is we have a lack of men who know how to execute every single day and be what it means to be a man, which is someone who protects, provides, and leads. And when having these conversations with other men, what I found is that there are a lot of people who have these beliefs but are not actively talking about it because they feel like they're the only one in the room. And so this is a place to bring those discussions to light, to have a place where men can come and create an environment that is conducive to the success of what it means to be a man in this day and age, which unfortunately is, we're not seeing a whole lot of it at the moment. And so that's why we're here.
I would agree. Current culture discourages men from actually voicing their opinions. What would you say is the main problem that kept showing up that you just couldn't ignore anymore?
Well, there's a massive lack of execution. You got guys who make excuses. They want to lose weight, but they shove a pizza in their fucking face. And there's everybody who says that they want these specific goals, but they lack the actions that are in line with what they say that their goals are. So execution on a day-to-day basis is something that you don't see a whole lot of. And that is why there is a top 1% of producers and earners, is because the rest of the 99 are stuck in their excuses and lack of action. So learning to execute daily despite the circumstances that are surrounding you is a skill that people need to learn, men especially if they're going to be protecting and providing for themselves and their family.
And with that, let's go into a bit about your background and what in your life brought you to this point, and some of the experiences that have kind of guided you along the way.
Yeah, so I have a family of 4 brothers and a sister, a very large family. I'm the oldest, so with that, I didn't really have a whole lot of individuals leading me, and I had to go out and seek those individuals that I saw in positions where it looked like they might be leading in their area or doing very well in their area, and I had to seek leadership on my own, because what 12-year-old kid knows how to lead himself? You know what I mean? So that led me to an individual who I wanted to be a cop for a really long time, and so I spoke to an individual who was on the SWAT team in the local area and had been on for a very long time, and he said, if you want to be a cop, you need to join the Marine Corps. Okay. And so I hopped right in and had to humble myself and learn how to execute and become a capable human being in that space. Was in that for 5 years, got out, jumped into executive protection, started doing that, and then teaching firearms to people, which led to teaching men how to be protectors of themselves, their wives, and their kids.
I'm familiar with some of those experiences myself. I also came from a family with 4 brothers, no sisters though. What about parental leadership? Was your father in law enforcement or military?
No, he was, very working class family. So honestly, I mean, I think they did the best that they could with what they had, always working, having to provide, and there wasn't, I mean, I love my dad to death, but there wasn't a whole lot of, I mean, I guess he would put it as time to raise a family when you're working 15-hour days, trying to provide and keep a roof over the head, you know what I mean? So it was through seeking those other leadership roles that I became very attracted to the idea of serving the community. And that happened to be in a law enforcement capacity.
And would you say that, coupled with the fact that you were the oldest, kind of forced you to mature early? Like you said, you were already looking at becoming a cop at the age of 12.
Yeah, so there's like, with the oldest, there's this pressure that you don't really want and never asked for. Everybody's looking up to you and you don't deserve it. And so that pressure kind of forced me to try and be the best that I can be, and I failed a lot. And then, you know, everybody fails, but trying to figure out who it is that they can put in their corner that'll help them take that next step forward. You know what I mean?
And would you say that there's lessons that failure taught you that success necessarily couldn't?
Yeah, failure teaches. Well, if I fail, the first question is, what opportunity can I learn from this? If I fail, there's a reason. I need to find it and see how I can fix it so I don't do it next time. The problem is people fail and then they stop trying, and they stop trying to figure out what it is that they need to do in order to succeed. And so there needs to be a mental reframing there of failure is not failure. I can't remember who. Actually, I do know who, and if I say who, nobody will share the podcast. But they said, I don't fail, I either win or I learn. And it's a very powerful statement when you reframe your mind that way.
Yeah, and my own background, also military, but in the Army. In my own experience, I ran into all kinds of leadership, both good and bad. I viewed all of it as something to take away, something to learn from either what to do or what not to do. Are there any specific leaders that you had during your time in the Marines that kind of, I guess, shifted or shaped your mentality?
Yeah, I'll do. I'm not going to say names, but there was a really bad leader, and we had this joke that he was only in his position because he re-enlisted because he had a kid. As in, you know, most people get scared and don't want to get out when they start having a family, and so they stay in. So that was kind of the running joke, is that's why he stayed in, and was given a billet based on his rank, and he was awful at it. He didn't have up-to-date knowledge in his head. I think he was lost in the sauce 90% of the time. I don't think he knew where he was 100% of the time. And but that was an individual that taught a lot of people what not to do and how not to act and how not to treat people. On the flip side, in the same command, I had another individual who was shorter than me. That was probably the best first sergeant I think I've ever had. And I think most people would have agreed. He had a way of talking to people and respecting people despite rank, and that him showing that respect to you brought him a lot of respect from other people.
Nice. And going back into deliberate action, we're kind of focusing on the issues for men's culture nowadays and that lack of leadership and guidance that most men, especially young men, are not seeing. They're not growing up with. What would you say is the core problem that deliberate action is responding to?
Well, I'd say first, if you don't have that leadership in your world, it's your job and your obligation to find it and seek it out. And if you're not, then you're just lazy. Um, there are plenty of groups and spaces where you can find someone who is leading, that you can attach yourself to. And that comes down to executing every single day regardless. You can't control what you can't control, and people rely on the things that they can't control as this excuse and the crutch that keeps them in the same exact spot year after year. Like the 90% of people who have the same New Year's resolution and fail the same New Year's resolution every single year. They're like consecutive failures. They're doing really good at it.
Usually within the first month.
Yeah. It's they don't have the ability to execute regardless. The one thing that throws them off. So people can execute through Wednesday, and then they lose Wednesday, and then they're like, okay, well, I'll just restart on Monday instead of restarting on Thursday. And then that turns to, okay, I'll start on the 1st. Or, you know what, this will just be my next year's resolution. Instead of just executing every single day in spite of everything around you.
Just kicking the can further down the road.
Yeah.
From personal observation, I would say most men have an awareness of the problems in society or in their own personal lives, but fail to take action. What would you say is causing men to confuse, say, talking about the issues from actually taking action and progressing?
Well, talking feels good.
Yeah.
Talking about it, telling people about it. It's like everybody knows the guy that's like, dude, I'm starting this thing. I'm doing this thing. And they're bouncing back and forth to things that they're starting but never completing. It's because talking feels good.
It gets them attention.
It gets them attention. It gets them the applause that they need. And then by the time they see that the applause is dwindling, they've found another thing that they're going to do to get a little bit more applause. But also, it's like confession porn. It's like every time I tell somebody that I screwed up here, and it feels good to get that off your chest, and they give you a pat on the back and say it's okay, you're gonna be okay, blah blah blah, or hey, I'm doing this, dude, that's awesome. I can't wait to see see what happens there. And then that lasts about a week, and then they face the first problem, and then they're like, well, guess it's just not meant to be. Success is for those people. Being able to run a marathon is for other people. And you pair that with what's on social media and just culture in general. Everybody has an excuse for everything. Everybody thinks that there's some magic fairy that touches you, and then all of a sudden you are everything you want to be, or they're waiting for someone to give them permission to do the things that they know that they should be doing. And it's just not reality. You have to. It's gonna rain. Does that mean you don't go for the run you said that you were going to go on? Well, for 90% of the population, no. It means I stay inside in my comfy, cozy snuggie with the wife and watch Netflix. But then there's a 1% of people who are like, no, fuck it, it's raining. I have to go anyways because I told myself I would.
So with that, we've had conversations ourselves in the past about comfort culture in America, and I've referred to it as like comfort crisis in America. Everyone is dependent on that comfort. They're so used to it. We have AC. If there's weather outside, we basically only spend 10 seconds in it as we walk from our house to the car, from the car to the store, and vice versa. How would you say comfort culture has lowered expectations for men in general?
Well, I think that there's a reason why convenience sells, right? If someone the second it starts to rain, there's a negotiation that happens in your head. And crazy thing is that our head is one hell of a negotiator. And so if we continue to listen to it saying the things like, hey, you did very good Monday and Tuesday, you can relax today. Hey, you did very good during your workout today, you deserve a pizza, right? The second we start doing those things and allowing that to happen, that negotiation to win, the negotiation only gets louder and louder and louder. On the flip side, if you say, fuck you, I'm going to go run because that's what I told myself I'm going to do, there's a couple things that happen. Is one, you decrease the volume of that voice next time. And then additionally, you build a little bit of confidence in the fact that you can execute whether or not you want to or not. So when we talk about expectations and standards, as I continue to lose the negotiation battle, my expectation for self is going to continue to decline because I don't even think that I can, even if I wanted to. Because I have allowed this bitch voice to continue to win negotiations against me. Or, again, going to the flip side, there's a reason why people who we can look at and say, dude, that man's untouchable. It's not that he's untouchable. It's that there has been a repetitive action of doing it when he didn't want to that has built a solid foundation of confidence. So he knows, even if I don't know how to, or even if I don't want to, I will find out and I will execute regardless. So when you haven't taught yourself those things, of course your expectations and your standards are going to be super, super low because you don't even have the belief that you'll be able to do it anyways. Because you have this, it's like the good angel and the bad angel, right? Which one are you going to listen to? Are you going to listen to the devil who's telling you to sit your fat ass on the couch and watch Netflix because there's nothing better to do? Or are you going to listen to the good angel that is telling you quietly, this is what you need to do to succeed? And the thing is that it's not a surprise to anybody. Everybody knows that you have to consume less than you burn in order to lose fat. Everybody knows that you need to stop eating junk food. Everybody knows that you need to do a little bit of cardio to have good cardiovascular health. Everybody knows it. It's just that they don't want to listen to those things.
And yeah, we'll go into nutrition topics at another time, but I know a lot of people who think that they're being healthy just because they're drinking a diet soda or eating something with less fat, less sugar, but it's still junk food, or it's a Twinkie.
Mm-hmm. A non-fat Twinkie. Convenience
stores. On that same topic, I would say that excuses have become tolerated in society and even rewarded with comfort. Whereas if you actually kick yourself in the pants and get out there and do it and do the hard thing, then it's rewarded with fulfillment and respect. Hard part is getting the respect because a lot of other people, in personal experience and from what I've seen in the past, there's a lot of people that don't want you or men in general to succeed because then it makes them feel bad. A lot of people will put down others to make themselves feel better about their own personal existence or lack of trying.
Yeah, I agree.
And I would say that is something that we're trying to change here with deliberate action, building up rather than putting down, and challenging people to do the hard thing, to get shit done, as you said. Be someone who does shit.
Yeah, and some people's voices that are, we'll call it the devil angel or the bitch voice or whatever. Some people's voices are just so loud because they haven't listened to the opposite shoulder for a long time. And so the idea behind this is like, there are guys that are within this community that have completely shut out that voice and know how to do it. And they're here to grab the guy who sees the other side and wants that, but just doesn't know how to because the negotiator has been kicking his ass for the last 15 years. And so it's going to be cool to see how guys from all, I don't even want to say levels, but from all areas help the guy that doesn't have all the tools that he feels he needs.
Yeah, because it is easier to give in, as you were talking about. And I think that when guys make that mental shift, the first time that they don't give in, they see an immediate, I guess, change in themselves, their mentality.
Yeah.
For deliberate action itself, what would you say deliberate action is not?
Well, it's not for the person who wants to just feel good by listening to shit. Success zombies, as some of my favorite speakers like to call them. People who just consume content on a day-to-day basis because it makes them feel good, makes them feel like they're getting better. Absolutely not for you. Don't want you here. I want, we've already told you what we want, but yeah, definitely not for that guy. It is not going to be a political back and forth. We're here to change culture. We don't, and because politics is downstream from culture, and the reason why we have the climate in the world that we do is because a lack of men standing up. So we're not going to be here talking about the political climate every single day, and we're gonna come together. We're gonna get better, and we're gonna execute every single day.
All right, and excuse me. Let's go into a few definitions. Some of it feeds directly into the intent of deliberate action, like accountability and responsibility. What does responsibility mean to you?
Responsibility is, what am I, without using the word in the definition, what am I in charge of? What is in my world that I am called to protect and provide for, right? And you could also say, but I think that this bleeds into accountability a little bit more. You are responsible for every action that you take or don't take. So you are where you are because of you, nobody else. And if that's good or bad, it's because of you. If it's great, fantastic, keep executing. If it's bad, it's your fucking fault, and nobody else's. So take responsibility for that and move forward. But then, yeah, who and what is within your circle that you are responsible for?
Okay. And discipline on a daily basis throughout life, what would you say is, how would you define discipline?
Discipline is all encompassing. So the people who say that they're disciplined but don't make their bed in the morning, well, you're not disciplined. You're disciplined you're consistent in one area. Discipline is everything that you do. How you do one thing, you're going to do another. So if you have shitty relationships, but you're winning in business, you're not disciplined. You're consistent at executing in business, and you are lacking in executing in those relationships. So if you're going to call yourself disciplined, then that means you need to be executing every single day, everything that you tell yourself and other people is important to you. If you're out here saying, I love my wife because it's the right thing to say, but you guys aren't connected, you got some work to do, and don't tell me that you're disciplined.
I would say that's one of the hardest areas for men, giving their all at work, giving 100%, working hard, especially blue collar guys, but then taking that break, taking it easy when they get home, and kind of taking the foot off the gas. So that is definitely something, like in my own personal life, I've had to work on as well, given 100% both at work, providing for my family, but then also being present and being there when I'm home.
Yeah.
Competence means a lot of things for a lot of different people. What would you say competence should look like for men? I would say it would be the ability to take action, the ability to provide. Competence is having the skill set needed to protect your family, to provide for them.
Yeah, and I think it's also the ability to recognize what you are deficient in and execute. Apparently, execute's my favorite word, but tackle those things that you know you need to tackle. So it's like not being willfully ignorant in the things that are causing you to fail in certain areas.
Yep. And last question here. What role would you say brotherhood plays in personal growth?
Well, I like the analogy of any boat, but I'll use a Viking ship, right? If you have a collection of individuals who are like-minded, moving in the same direction, they're going to be rowing at the same pace and moving forward. If you have the left side rowing slower because they're not on the same page, they are causing the boat to row in circles, meaning you're not moving forward. If you have one side that's not rowing at all, you're not going anywhere. So brotherhood means that you have a team around you that is going to help you move forward. Now, if one person's rowing the boat, it's not going to get very far very fast. So that's why they have teams of men in a ship that row forward together. And I don't know anybody that has succeeded in any area all by themselves. You might see people that say, yeah, I got here by myself, but they had a coach. Like, you know, they had people that, you'll see this, I've seen this in UFC a lot. I did this, me. While this coach is standing right there and his team's behind him wearing his gear, like it's just not reality. It's not going to happen.
I like that. And to add to the analogy, I would say if you have all the men rowing, but they're not rowing at the same time, then the ship could start to curve and go off course. But everyone rowing at the same time in unison, working together, keeps the boat on course.
Yeah.
What would you say most men or most people get wrong about masculinity? And to put it kind of in context, I think from observation that the modern concept or idea of masculinity is aggression. The Hollywood alpha male type that is basically just trying to beat up people at the bar versus what masculinity actually should be.
Yeah, I think people misinterpret the Jason Bourne, the 007, the John Wayne. These are men who, quote unquote, saved the world by themselves. And we've heard you don't have to fight bears alone. Unfortunately, I don't know a whole lot of men who have saved the world by themselves. So you might be able to be very good at being a tactician and a protector and a provider. But are you leading your family very well? Are you leading in your community very well? Like, I think that there's like this scary, like you said, aggression. Like people, when they think of the man's man, they look at those three figures, right? And it's just not. And going back to brotherhood, it's just not how it works. Like, yes, be very good at fighting, be very good as a tactician, be very good at leading and providing, but also understand that there are also other men out there that could probably learn something from you and that you could learn from, and we're here to do things together.
Yeah, and it's not to say that aggression doesn't have its place, but yeah, just modern society, I believe, tends to think that a masculine man is just overly aggressive when it's not necessarily the case. Um, I would say it's a masculine man is someone who has the ability to be aggressive but controls it. And that also kind of feeds into stoicism. And I think a incorrect assumption of stoicism in modern society is that it's someone who basically suppresses everything and doesn't take action. It is never aggressive. What would you say is the difference between stoicism and suppression?
I think suppression's pretty weak. I think you could look at it as like meek and weak, right? So people see meekness as weak without understanding what the definition is. Like you said, someone who has the ability to cause great harm but keeps his sword sheathed, I think is Jordan Peterson's, something along those lines. The ability to cause great harm but keeps his sword sheathed, right? That's meekness. But people think that meekness is weakness. That the reason why that man is able to keep his sword sheathed is because he has figured out how to control his emotions and not to suppress. He's willing to have those conversations when he needs to. He's willing to draw a line in the sand when he needs to. He's willing to take action and stand up when he needs to. And the adverse is weakness. If you're posturing as somebody who is the John Wayne and the Jason Bourne, but you have zero control of your emotions or your ability to lead in any such way, then a rejection of performative posturing is really another thing that I think we're here for. Is there's a lot of people that talk shit but don't do shit, and that's the difference. You have someone talking shit, and then you have someone that's doing shit.
Yeah, and I believe Jordan Peterson's quote is something along the lines of lacking the ability to do harm does not make a man a good man. That makes him a weak man. A good man is a dangerous man who's capable of great harm and violence but chooses not to. And then also for meekness, as you mentioned, a lot of people don't know the definition. And people think of it as someone who's timid and maybe overly humble. Excuse me. But meekness is actually tamed. So thinking of it as a wild bronco that's been tamed. That aggression of the wild bronco has been brought under control, and it still has all the speed, all the fierceness and ability that the bronco has. But now instead of it just being wild, it's now in a controlled environment and able to be directed and focused.
Yeah.
How would you define leadership as a burden rather than a privilege?
So I think leadership is you get this puzzle piece, or you get this puzzle, and every shape is different, and it is your job to piece the puzzle together so that it creates a full picture. The burden comes when the pieces don't fit or the picture doesn't look right. It's nobody else's fault but your own, because you couldn't figure out how to navigate that picture and that puzzle piece. You couldn't find the other piece that fit with that puzzle piece. So, extreme ownership is another way of saying that. Like, you are responsible for the success and failures of the people you are leading. What that also means is that you have the burden of leading by example and being the person that you expect them to be at all times.
And leading by example through, through competence and merit, and showing that you're willing to put in the hard work and actually be able to lead from the front. To kind of sum everything up, in brotherhood and accountability, what happens to men who isolate themselves?
Well, the most internationally recognized form of inhumane torture is isolation.
Good point.
So there's a reason for that. Men go crazy and die from insanity when they are isolated. So if it's a global understanding not to isolate yourself, might be a clue.
There's a reason why it's solitary confinement in prison.
Yeah, might be a clue as to the fact that it's not a good idea.
Okay. And just rounding out the topic of discussion for this show, why, on the flip side of that, why would you say voluntary hardship is necessary for men?
Well, we go back to good angel, bad angel. If you want that good angel to get louder and louder and louder, you can manufacture hard times so that you are forced into positions where you have to decide to execute anyways. And so running in the rain anyways is a good way to do it. Running in the rain with a 35-pound pack is another good way to teach yourself that you can run in the rain with a 35-pound pack regardless. So putting yourselves into positions of stress only does good for elevating the volume of that good angel and quieting the bitch voice on a regular basis.
And if a man is to, say, listen to this show for a full 12 months, what would you expect to be different about him a year from now? And understanding that accountability is something that men have to take upon themselves, but if they were to actually listen and implement the topics that are discussed on this show.
Well, if you're implementing these things that we're going to talk about, one, you're having the same conversations with the people around you, and they're seeing the results and the fruits of your labor as you begin to execute. So I think that hopefully you're realizing that you are not the only person on an island, and that within 12 months you've built yourself a community within your own community of men that are executing every single day, getting awesome results, and becoming better leaders, protectors, and providers. But the only way that that happens is by you executing, so that they can see what happens when you execute.
And what does success look like for deliberate action? Like, what impact do you want to see this show have in the lives of men or in a group setting?
I really sick and tired of men not being able to stand up. I mean, we saw the Ukrainian girl get stabbed, and you can count the amount of men that sat there on their fucking ass and did absolutely nothing.
Or walked past her.
Yeah, and left her there bleeding out. So, I expect that culture, well, I know that culture needs to change, and I expect it to change. as people continue to execute and stand up and be men who are not voiceless but speak out against certain things when they need to, and men who are willing to grab other men in their communities and move forward together and lead. Ultimately, I want culture to change because I'm sick and tired of going to Walmart and seeing NPCs everywhere. So
I know what you mean. Do you have any final statement that you would like to give before closing out the show?
it rains every day in Washington,
That it does.
so some people, I guess, will just never run.
Also very true. It's raining today.
Yeah.
All right, so a lot of these topics will go further into depth in future episodes. For anyone that's listening, thank you very much. And we would appreciate if you like, subscribe, share, put the episode out for anyone that you do know, and share with anyone that you think might get something out of it. Until next time, we'll see you then.